Perfect. Well, let's call the meeting to order here. I should use my microphone. It is 5 p.m. here on March 18th, 2026. Beautiful day. Can't believe how warm it is and nice it is. Let's go ahead and start with our land acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation, we as the town of Diamond Valley acknowledge and pay tribute to the traditional territories of the peoples of Treaty 7, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, which is comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, as well as the Dene Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, which includes Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations, and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Thank you so much for joining us today. I do want to make our residents aware, if you're joining us online, Councillor Cindy Holiday is up in the Peace River region enjoying the Oilfields High School senior girls basketball team. They've made the provincials, and so she will be joining us online. And then our mayor, Brendan Kelly, the reason I'm chairing the meeting is Brendan is serving his school with an overnight trip. And they both can joining us online, and we're going to make sure that we acknowledge them throughout and expect their participation. As we move forward in our agenda, we do want to note that we need to seek the adoption of the consent agenda, team. As you look at the consent agenda, is there anything you want pulled off of that so that we can discuss it, or I will entertain a motion to accept as presented?
I can give you the motion.
All right, certainly. Thank you so much, Councillor Martin. What we're going to do for Cindy and Brendan, due to the fact that there's a bit of a delay, I will assume that your silence is a motion of approval, that you're voting in approval of the motion on the table. I think that's the way that we can move forward. I'll be making sure that if you're opposed to the motion, I'll look for some direction from our administration as they monitor the teams. So we have a motion on the table, team, to accept the consent agenda for our meeting tonight as presented. All in favor? Perfect, and that is supported unanimously. Moving on, before we jump into a closed session here, we need to adopt our regular agenda. Team, as you look at that, is there anything that we want to add or amend, or are we able to accept it as presented? I see Councillor Bain nodding in agreement. So Councillor Bain, why don't you make that motion that we adopt our regular agenda as presented?
What you said.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Councillor Bain. All in favor then? And that is unanimous. We've adopted our agenda for tonight. One thing that we do want to begin our meeting with, and why we're starting here at 5 o'clock, is to move into a closed meeting. We have several items that we need to do. We have our library board and subdivision development appeal board applications to review. And of course, we have the Access to Information Act that we are now following. Section 20 gives us the responsibility to go into close to review that. Then we have a capital request update, which is according to the same act, sections 29 and 30. As well, if we're able to go through it in our 5 o'clock session, our CAO evaluation process, which by the way, needs to happen annually, that is legislated. And so we're just following that responsibility, and the sections are 20 and 22. So council, entertain a motion to go into closed here. That's from Councillor Fleming. Thank you so much, Councillor. All in favor to move into closed here at 5:04, and that is moved unanimously. Back to order after our brief recess. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Council started about an hour and 3 minutes ago, and so we're going to reconvene here at 6:02. For those of us who joined us here in our chambers, we've had a closed session. We were looking at a couple of important items regarding upcoming appointments. Volunteers are so much appreciated in our community, and we've had some volunteer applications for our library board and for our subdivision appeal board. We'll be dealing with those in a moment. But whenever there's personnel issues like that, the Alberta's new act that replaces our, well, it used to be FOIP, I believe it was, but it's the Access to Information, plus another string of acronyms that deal with it. We take that responsibility seriously when talking about personnel, and we go into a close for that. But later on in our meeting today, we'll have that appointment. As well, we looked at some capital budget expenses that we want to make sure that we're handling in a very responsible manner. So that's what we did during our closed session. We do have another closed session afterwards So if you're still with us when we're done our regular meeting, I'll ask you kindly to vacate the premises so we can continue in a closed meeting. We don't have any, we do have some coming out of closed. Our committee appointments here, which I understand we want to do this at the moment. And so council, we want to go through our committee appointments here. As you'll notice, we want to deal first and foremost with our intermunicipal subdivision and development appeal board. And the nice part about our new subdivision, not new, but our updated subdivision and appeal board, development appeal board, is that we are doing it regionally now. And that gives us access to different communities around us who have members already. And so there's a pool of volunteers that serve on this board. And council, I'll have a motion from anyone here that we move forward with appointing the gentleman, Barry Kelly, that we've recommended for that. Who would want to give me that motion? Hazel, why don't you go ahead and read that motion and insert the name for us?
The council appoint Barry Kelly to the intermunicipal subdivision and development appeal board, subject to successful completion of the required training and certification.
Excellent. And based on the information that Mr. Kelly shared with us, we're very confident that he will serve well for us. Mayor Kelly, why don't you go ahead and speak to that? And by the way, team, you'll notice that I am deputy mayor and chairing the meeting tonight. Mayor Kelly is enjoying a getaway with several of his students out of town, as well as Councillor Holiday is also meeting us online, as her daughter is part of the Oilfields High School basketball team, and they're up in Peace River at the provincials. So I'll be asking them to involve themselves and engage in the meeting. And something you might have seen that Verna Staples has done is she'll give me a notification that's something like this, where we have different placards. So I believe Mayor Kelly is ready to speak. So Mayor Kelly, take it away.
Yeah, I sure am. And this is just for the sake of transparency. I just want the community to know that this fine young man has absolutely no connection. He's not a relative of mine. We are not related. The STVA board is an extremely focused and should be a very serious board because they deal with a lot of high level matters that involve our community. I just wanted on public record that we are not related. I haven't met this gentleman. I hope that I do get the opportunity to do one day, but I just wanted to put that out there that there is no affiliation whatsoever. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mayor Kelly. I know when I got the when we went through the application, I saw B Kelly, and I'm like, "What? You're the mayor. You can't be doing this." But yeah, we have a motion on the floor to accept and appoint, Barry Kelly to our intermunicipal subdivision and development appeal board. Let's call the vote. All in favor? And without hearing from Mayor Kelly or Councillor Holiday, we've decided at the start of the meeting that if they object, they need to speak up. If they're in favor, they remain quiet. There's a bit of delay in our communication. So that is carried unanimously. Moving on, I'll deal with these appointments here based on the conversation we had. And team, if we feel the need to discuss it or add another motion to the floor, we can do that. So second motion deals with our library board, where that council is appointing the following individuals to the Town of Diamond Valley Library Board for the specified terms. So council wishes to appoint Xenia Doring for the term starting March 19th, 2026 and ending March 18th, 2028. And appointing Heather Thompson, Ken Dutton, and Phaedra Osborne to the term starting March 19th, 2026 and ending March 18th of 2029. Council, any questions or comments on these appointments that based on the applications we received? And I do want to state, as I mentioned earlier, volunteer support in our community is something that we treasure. And the volunteer board of the library, they invest quite a bit of time. They have a separate act that they work under, and they're very good at what they do. And this is a great opportunity, these four individuals coming forward with the experiences they have. And I know I'm excited to support them as they really provide, as we've mentioned, sound governance for our library board. And so that's why we have these four names presented before us tonight. All right, let's call the motion to vote, please. All in favor of appointing these 4 individuals as stated? Excellent. That's carried unanimously. Do we have any other motions coming out of closed? Mr. Bain, Councillor Bain, sorry.
I would like to make a motion. Hazel Martin is currently on the library board. She has been appointed by council to the library board. However, moving towards having the library board consist entirely of volunteers, I would like to move that we revise the appointment of Hazel Martin to the library board to end October the 1st, 2026. And to speak to the motion, there are a lot of things happening in the library right now. Having 4 new people suddenly thrown in, although they have volunteered, and I'm sure that they will do a good job, they don't know everything that is going on in the with the board. So by revising the appointment of Hazel to October the 1st of this year, that allows her 6 months basically to assist the new members, to help them settle. And at the end of that time, her term will end and she will no longer be on the board. It will be entirely volunteer.
All right, appreciate that motion, Councillor Bain, and well spoken as to why you're presenting that motion. Continuity, of course, is quite important. Before I speak to that, I want to open up the council for consideration.
Sorry, could I just clarify the end date that you have proposed?
I believe you said October 1st of 2026.
Yes.
And I think that would align closely with our organizational meeting, if I'm not mistaken. But I'd love to hear from council on that. I'll give the 2 that are attending online first option to speak here. Councillor Holiday or Mayor Kelly, would love to hear your comments on this. There may be a delay.
No, I was hoping Brendan would go first.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, I can
I'll
go
have Mayor
first.
Kelly go first. Thanks, mate. Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, I can go first. What I in theory can support Councillor Bain's motion to allow some continuity between the new development and the future of the new board. I think that it's a very finite timeline. October. As much as I would like to see a new board sit down and develop their own strategies, I could support this timeline. I could be agreeable to this.
All right, thanks for that insight. Councillor Holiday, what are your considerations here, please?
Yeah, I'm definitely on the fence on this. I like the idea of having a new fresh start and all new people, but sometimes that doesn't always go well. So gives us a few months to see. But yeah, I'm on the fence, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think that's well said about the challenges with that. To give our chambers, people in chambers, a little bit of background here. One of the recent motions we as council made because of the governance concerns at the library was that we were looking for a new library board to really allow for a fresh start, to make sure things were moving forward with that. That's why we're having this discussion and just be open and transparent with why we're moving forward with that. The new board, we wanted a fresh start, we wanted a reset, and so that's a little bit of a background here. Anybody in council other than Councillor Bain want to make a comment regarding the motion that we have before us? Go ahead, Councillor Fleming.
I believe this is a great middle ground for what we discussed in the closed meeting.
Yeah, well said. And to that point, that's the joy of democracy, is how can we work together to find the best solution? And there's no ill will in asking our councillors to step off the board. That was not an ill will intended, but we understand the importance of continuity. So we do have a motion on the floor from Councillor Bain that council revise the appointment of Councillor Hazel Martin to the Diamond Valley Library Board to end on October 1st, 2026. So that motion is there. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All right, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Bain, for approaching that from a compromised position. And I really appreciate that as something very powerful. Now, I do have you're very welcome. Go ahead, Hazel.
Nope, that's it. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for your.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. I do have a question regarding Councillor Bain's involvement with the Marigold representation. Does that continue, or do we need clarity on that? Should we have a motion to get clarity from Marigold?
So at the moment, Councillor Bain is still appointed to the library board
Okay,
as well. So if that's going to change, you'll need to address that, but you can confirm his appointment to the Marigold Systems.
as a separate. So Councillor Bain, why don't you lead that? And I know this is challenging for Councillor Bain. Do you want me to take it for you, sir? Because I know you're very close with the board, but in our closed session, Councillor Bain did talk about his willingness to step aside from the library board at this time. So I can make that motion if you like, or if you want to voluntarily resign, I wouldn't mind that.
I'll go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm going to make a motion that council direct the library board to remove Councillor Bain as a member, or
Council makes appointment.
council makes the appointment, the council remove Councillor Bain, rescind his appointment effective March 18th from the Diamond Valley Library Board. And I do want to say, I really appreciate Councillor Bain's work on that and his willingness to step aside as he's in full support, and Ted can speak to that if he wants to. But Ted has been in very full support about the need for effective governance on that board and his willingness to step aside, knowing that many of the board have already stepped aside as well, just to show that element of working together, looking ahead to the betterment of our governance of that board. Councillor Bain, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just definitely in support of the motion in that it removes any perception that council is trying to flood the board and to influence the board. No. Having one council member on the board, it is one vote. It's only one. And by me removing myself, or being removed, as the case may be.
Thank you.
I think it goes a long way towards having the board entirely volunteer.
Yeah, well said. So we have that motion on the table. All in favor? And that is unanimous there. And then a very quick follow-up motion there, only coming out of the closed, is that as it's on there, who would like to make that motion so Councillor Bain makes that motion as presented on the board.
The council confirmed the existing appointment of Ted Bain to the Marigold Library System Board.
Perfect.
To speak to the motion, I will not be a member of the library board. I will simply be liaising with the Marigold system and reporting to the board. I will not have a vote on the board. I will simply be passing information back and forth.
So if you will, Ted, in 90 seconds, explain the role of Marigold with our library.
Marigold is an umbrella organization that there are several regions within Alberta that have a library system. And what Marigold does is it assists the libraries with a lot of policy work, better purchasing power. They have dedicated IT specialists so that member libraries don't have to spend a lot of time, a lot of money doing things that can be done for all of them.
Yeah, well said. So an integral role. So we're seeking clarity on that. We have a motion on the table. Any other councillor want to speak to that motion? All right, seeing none, let's call for the vote. All in favor? And again, that is carried unanimously. So those are, we need one more motion. No, we'll deal with that later, right? We don't need a motion regarding our capital budget at this time. That's later on in the agenda, so we're good there. Moving on in our agenda, we have our question period. And regarding our question period, just a reminder regarding how we have amended our question period. We really enjoy hearing from our community, but we have requested that members of our community submit their questions by noon of the day of our council meeting. That gives us enough time to prepare an answer, to do some research if needed, and see how best we can answer the questions in real time. So we do have 4 questions in front of us. So I'm going to read the first one, and this has been received from Chloe Bede. How do you pronounce your last name, Chloe? Is it a Bide? Bide. I was close. The E and the I should have got that. I got a German background. So when it's EI, it's I. When it's IE, it's E. So I'm actually going to defer your question. I'm going to read it into record now. We're going to defer it and have the Connections Nature School answer the question. So Ms. First Team, Ms. Katie, you might want to mark this down as you'll be answering the question. And it's in relation to the delegation that the Nature School is presenting in just a moment. And the question goes this way. So you're proposing to purchase or purposing to purchase the current council chambers building from the town and have it moved to an area where we already have youth infrastructure. So that's a question mark. As well, the secondary question, who would pay for the cost associated with this? So 2 elements to the question, but we're going to defer that one to when we hear from the delegation. We've also received a question from one of our residents, Dusty Williams. Very good question regarding the opportunity and the importance and the opportunity of using electrical equipment. And so he has a question here, question regarding the RFQ, request for quote, for the zero-turn mower procurement. I would like to ask a question regarding the current RFQ for a commercial zero-turn mower. And I must say, I'm very pleased that this young lady has a cursive handwriting book. I'm a big believer in that because I'm reading from cursive right now. So it will come into play later on. But anyway, my wife's an early childhood educator, believes in phonics and cursive from kindergarten. So you can have a chat with her about its value. Anyway, Dusty goes on to say, I noticed that the specification calls for a diesel powered unit. With the rapid advancement of commercial electronic equipment, including zero-turn mowers with 72-inch blades suitable for municipal use, I'm wondering, and this is his question, has the town evaluated electric alternatives as part of this procurement process, particularly from a life cycle perspective? Electronic units now offer comparable performance while significantly reducing fuel costs, maintenance, noise, and on-site emissions. Even if a full transition is not being considered, would the town be open to including electric equipment as an option in future procurements? He goes on to give us a list, and as Dusty always does, he is very detailed with his research, so I really appreciate what he's provided for us. We do have a response from our Director of Public Works, and the consideration he has brought forward, and of course, I do want to encourage our town and our residents, both online that are listening and may view this recording later on. We do look at all options. What is the best for the community as far as the budget that we have, as well as life cycle and whatnot. And so let me read in detail here what our Director of Public Works has provided, which will be provided to Dusty by way of email as well. When considering the difference between electric mowers and traditional internal combustion engine, and I will use ICE as the acronym moving forward, or ICE equipment, it's important to properly understand the work environment and scope of work that needs to be accomplished. Although electric mowers have come a long way in their design and performance, they have yet to cross the threshold into commercial operations in a scale that is realistic. Most electric units currently available are not commercial grade. There are several reasons for it, including they lack the deck size and configuration critical to municipal use. The mower decks on electric mowers tend to be of a lighter grade material, including the cutting edges. This is done to conserve weight. Although electric mowers are quieter and do not have ICE motors or ICE motors, they still require regular inspection and maintenance. Blades need to be sharpened and balanced. Grease points still need to be maintained. Belts and pulleys are still those wearable items, and pre-use applications or inspections will always be required to ensure safe and proper use of the equipment. At this time, due to the research that our Director of Public Works has done, he has found that there are no operational advantages to electric over our current ICE motors. In fact, ICE equipment, on the other hand, ensures a reliable full-day operation over several acres of land and travel of several kilometers in a day. So we have also not received at this moment, as Dusty has mentioned, concerns for noise. We have currently not received any noise complaints due to our internal combustion engines. Craig goes on to list, Mr. Beaton goes on to list several of the pros and cons. Looking at that, he identifies with Dusty and agrees that those pros. But the cons at this time, that in the research that our director has done, there are no viable commercial grade zero turn units due to the vast area of mowing and the distance spread across our community. It would not be economically viable to include that because of that. And so one of the things that I do want to include in this as well, the current batteries, and that has always been the issue with electric equipment. In commercial grade equipment, electric batteries aren't there yet. And he goes on to say that potential lithium ion, it currently has that reputation for battery failing as well as fires while charging. And by the way, I'm in insurance, and that is becoming a major risk when you're insuring electric power units of any sort. So if you have an electric bike and you've had a current conversation with an insurance advisor, they would have asked that and they would have flagged that in your system because of how they can instantly combust. And so we have a fire professional here with us who could probably speak to that ad nauseum. And so it is a concern. So at this time, we're not looking to do that, but it is on our radar. We know that technology advances, if not doubles, every 18 months. So if there can be something that comes across our path that way, we definitely will do that. I have Mayor Kelly ready to jump in. So Brendan, jump in, man.
Yeah, just very quickly too on that point, Deputy Mayor Gordon, and I know that TJ would be able to support this as well, is that some of the most recent data as well that was supplied from the Redwood Meadows fire was that was also started from a battery operated unit, and they lost a multi-million-dollar fire hall in Redwood Meadows due to that. So while we do look for those alternatives and we want to support alternative modes, we do need to be very careful and protective of what we have. So I just wanted to drop that in there as well. Thank you.
No, excellent insight there, Mayor Kelly. And even in fact, that recent fire in Calgary, we have our deputy chief here at the high-end dealership. There's concerns that it actually was a electric vehicle's battery that combusted and caused the fire at that dealership. I don't know what the details on that. I'm sure the investigation is still ongoing, but it's something that we have to be absolutely aware of in that manner. And if I can say this, as a smaller municipality, we have to really be very careful with the dollars that we invest. We're not like the larger municipalities that can do pilot programs with electric vehicles. I'm thinking about the electric vehicle buses that they brought into Edmonton and the massive issues they've had, the outlay for that and not getting the outcome that was expected. We're not in a position to move forward with that, but we will. Our promise is definitely to be aware of that, what solutions might be available. So Mr. Williams, if you're paying attention here, you will get our response by way of email. So that's the second question. Moving on to a third question, and I'll try to answer this one to the best of our ability. Is Terry Smith here tonight by any chance?
Yeah,
Terry, there you are.
Yeah.
So I might get some clarity from you regarding your question, but just let me read it out. So your question asked, will the council address Diamond Valley's current infrastructure gap and prevent future municipal expenses by facilitating a community-led use space through strategic partnerships and a policy framework for asset activation? So I make an assumption in what I'm about to say, so you can correct my assumption. So I'm a member at large, separate from my council responsibilities, with a new community association called the Diamond Valley Community Association. And that is our initiative, is to have a community-led association to see what we can do as far as facilities are concerned to support a wide range of people groups, not just our youth, but from everybody across the board. So that is underway, and they will be partnering as we move forward. We've just started. We will be partnering with as many stakeholders as possible, including the town, to see how we can do that so that it's not a municipal expense. And that's going to be the challenge. Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
So give me some context, please.
The context is, to do with the, what is it, the,
The nature school?
Is this for 5 minutes? The thing said that,
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
the
yeah,
thing said that if you submit a question, you get 5 minutes. So she prepared something to say in for 5 minutes.
That would be a delegation, so we do questions by submission now. And so that's how we follow it through. So with her answering my question in that regard, what we're gonna do, since it's related
Yeah.
to the delegation,
Mhm.
we will do our best to answer it accordingly. And I think a lot of I would assume that your question should be answered then. If not, speak to me afterwards and we'll make sure we get you the answer that you need,
okay.
if it's related to that.
Yeah, I guess that's not my question in its entirety, like the clarification that you're looking for. Yeah, it was, I thought that they were asking for like, you know, a 1 sentence kind of summation of your question, and then you'd be given 5 minutes to say your whole question.
Yeah, no,
That's how I
that's a
understood it.
misunderstanding of
Yeah.
our procedural bylaw.
Okay, that's
The
fine.
question is to be very clear by written submission so that we can then answer it. The 5 minute inclusion is including the answer involved and any discussion council might have. Because when we have 4 questions, that can take quite a bit of time to get through.
Right,
So we'll do our best to answer it. If not, see me afterwards
okay.
and we'll try to get you a clear answer that you're satisfied with. We have one other question presented by Gary Ashmore, and I'm going to read the entirety of this and turn it over to staff in just a second here because it is dealing with our planning department. And Gary asked the question about the planning department. The issue at hand is the inability of the department to issue required permits in a timely manner. I've contacted mayor and council regarding this deficiency via email and did not feel the response was adequate. Something has to be done about this. Without knowing the manpower structure of the department, it's difficult for me to reliably, critique the problem. As a previous owner of a successful manufacturing business, efficiencies, keeping staff happy, and having the ability to recognize problems before they become major issues are critical to managing any successful organization. This is not an effort to discredit the department. I've been accommodated with nothing but respect and courtesy by the planning staff. Well, if I can interject there, I really wish we had more people working with our planning department with this kind of a character. I appreciate that very much. And I've known Gary for several years now. And what he's written here is very reflective of his nature. And I appreciate that. Gary goes on to speak and say that I know that I'm not the only one with this concern. And I know for sure that I'm not the only one to raise this issue. This cannot continue as is. The ongoing frustrations by a person such as myself and the extreme stress created for staff makes for a very difficult workplace. Some questions that should be considered. And so I'm going to give you these 4 questions. And I know our planning team, Director of Planning, Carrie Florizone, is here tonight. Gary asked 4 specific questions and then shares a concern. So bear with me. Number 1, Gary asks, is more staff required? Number 2, can this be rectified by using temporary outside contractors? Number 3, are the present staff utilized efficiently? And number 4, are there procedural shortcuts available with the MGA? I love that last question. Anytime we can remove red tape, let's do it, right? On another note, and this is the concern that Gary has brought forward, I would like to add my concerns over the plans to raise planning fees. My project application was initiated August 2024, and all I have managed to achieve is a land use redesignation and will finally have the subdivision registered with land titles this week. This has taken 16 months to complete, where a reasonable timeline should have been between 7 and 8 months. I wonder if there's been any consideration for financial relief because of these applications being delayed. We have to understand this is not a major development with many concerns to be addressed. This is one lot that Gary needed redesignated from R1 to R1N and then have the title split to accommodate the construction of 2 new homes. It's frustrating enough that this has taken so long, but having to pay increased fees because of the unacceptable timeline seems to me to be a slap in the face. I'm already facing an average building cost increase of more than 10% because of these delays. Thanks for taking my query, and I hope this is something that there will be actually rectified in short order. So I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Planning, if I may, CAO. And if you have anything to add first, Ms. Flourzo, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the question and raising the issue. I want to acknowledge up front that many applicants, including Mr. Ashmore, have experienced longer timelines than anybody would consider ideal. He's frustrated and it's understood. Longer timelines affect applicants, they affect staff, and council has recognized these challenges in the past. Throughout the budget process, there was a clear acknowledgement of the capacity challenges in planning. However, the budget that council passed didn't allow for additional capacity within planning. In fact, to meet the direction of council's targeted tax increases, we reduced staffing by 20% across the organization, which leads to increased pressures internally. Council stated that they want a managed growth approach, which administration fully supports. But interest in development remains high. Just because we have a limited capacity doesn't mean that we stop interest in applications coming through the door. It simply affects how fast we can process them. Many of our files are large, they're complex. We have developer delays, we have coordination with engineering who is out of house. There's also ongoing and significant impacts from annexation and amalgamation. We have alignment of policies, bylaws, servicing standards that continue to affect our workload and timelines today, and probably will for several more years. And we can see that in our work plans for like the land use bylaw, the intermunicipal development plan, et cetera. So is more staff required? Staff are working at capacity. We're working within the budgets that we've been given. Can it be fixed with contractors? Consultants can help in limited ways, but they're not a full solution. They don't deal well with the day-to-day. They don't deal well with applicant relationships. They don't deal well with internal processes. Are staff being used efficiently? I believe so. I believe that our volume, which is 20% of the land mass of the town, and the complexity are the issues, not efficiency and use of the staff. We are managing redesignations, subdivisions, multifamily development permits, industrial, commercial development permits, public hearings, enforcement processes, and amalgamation related challenges simultaneously. It's a lot of work for a very small department. Part of the improving efficiency and maintaining forward momentum is later in the agenda with the fee schedule and potential pressure release valve there on pre-application. We have a lot of work being done on the front end on a lot of files. It takes a lot of time. And the council's asked for some mechanisms to deal with that. And lastly, are there shortcuts under the MGA? No. Legislation is prescriptive. If we try to bypass the system, we open ourselves up to legal risk, appeals, and invalid decisions, which I don't think anybody wants. The only lawful way is to continue with the processes as they're outlined in legislation. So that kind of combination of lower taxes, lean staff, managed growth, fast approvals, those all can't occur simultaneously. And administration's role to council has always been to provide some analysis of those trade-offs, which I think council has been very earnest in considering those trade-offs, and I appreciate that. So while we understand that there is a lot of frustration, my department does remain committed to working collaboratively with applicants and improving processes where we can, and aligning our service delivery with council's expectations and budget.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Carrie. Just to reiterate a couple of points that Carrie made, the staffing reduction that we've done across the board hasn't been in the planning team. We have made investments in the planning team, but the capacity that they have, and I want to underscore what Carrie mentioned, the current files that they're working on, our planning team is working on at various stages of the planning, deals with 20% of our current land within our boundaries. That's a phenomenal amount. That is a huge amount for a department of 2 planners, 2 planning officers, and administrative support. So basically, 5 individuals are investing in that. Are there mechanisms that we can put into place that will prepare our applicants for the process that's ahead? Yes, there are. Are those efficiencies trying to be found? I believe they are. Our director of planning has assured council on more than one occasion in the last few months in some planning sessions we've had about the processes she's wanting to implement. I understand, and Mr. Ashmore, you're here with us, and thank you again for your clarity and the manner in which you brought this. I want to hear from council before I jump in, because I do have that same concern, council, about when an application is brought in and it's not finalized for 2 years later. Is there something we can do? Should we be doing something regarding what fees are charged? Because we've reviewed our fees twice since that application has been first submitted. You know, I know it's challenging for me, so I'll let Mayor Kelly lead this off. Go ahead, jump in, Mayor.
Yeah, thanks. And I understand that Mr. Ashmore is there. I appreciate his attendance and his concerns being brought forward. I don't want to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but in cases like this, I would have very little problem supporting the initial application fee that Mr. Ashmore had to deal with before we reviewed the rates. And so I'm not saying, you know, hey, let's go backwards. Let's make sure that, oh, your application was in, this is it. I think that there is an aspect of, you know, in essence, it's unfair to some of these applicants. And if we are not meeting those MGA requirements, and Carrie spoke very well to that. We understand the pressures. We live in a very desirable community, but Mr. Ashmore has lived here. He's investing in our community, and I would want to support his application in the way that it was received at the time that it was received, not with the new rates. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you. I think that's something that we can explore. CEO, what kind of direction would we need to support that? Yeah, I think there needs to be some kind of a cooperative approach to this. I'm just wondering how we approach it.
Yeah, sure, Chair. Just a motion to go back to fees in 2025. Be careful how we word this. Council will set a precedent.
It is definitely a challenge, right? It is a challenge.
You're also breaking your bylaws.
Yeah, we break the current bylaw because bylaws don't grandfather, and that's the challenge. So when our rates and fees fall under a bylaw. So Mr. Ashmore, this is something I've tried to do in the past to see if we could grandfather something into an existing new bylaw. The MGA actually overrules that. By law, you can't allow a grandfather clause into a bylaw. So I don't want to say our hands are tied, but why don't you leave it with us? And we'll try to find a solution. What I would recommend is that we'll direct administration to reach out to you and see if a solution can be found that's amenable to all parties. Would that work, sir?
Yes. Can I
Okay,
say something?
sure.
You know, it was never my intention to get money back.
It's not, I know.
No, you know, that's not my concern. You know, like the construction industry, especially the residential housing industry is an exactly can-do kind of a business, eh? And when we run into things like this, it's a can't do.
Yeah.
And it's not our fault. And if this town is going to do what it's going to do, you're going to have to increase the staff in your planning department with qualified people like another certified planner to make decisions. What it seems to me is that there's only one person, maybe 2, that are actually making decisions. The rest are feeding information into them.
Yeah.
I heard this said to me many times, well, you're in the queue. Well, every time I go into the queue, it seems to take 2 or 3 weeks. That's not being in the queue.
Yeah. So I appreciate your concerns, Gary. I think you've well stated them. And thank you so much for sharing them. And I mean that because in my industry in my regular day job, we can't change what we're not aware of. And we can't improve when we're not sure where there's at. So we take your advice and your concerns very
I
carefully.
really appreciate this.
And that's why we love question period, because you're bringing to our attention, and I say this to all residents, it brings up to our attention elements that we might not be fully aware of. And I can assure you that we're working with our staff to find the efficiencies that work for all. And we're gonna have to leave that at that, Gary.
It's just one
Very
more thing.
briefly.
Build Alberta has a program going now to get rid of the development permit to build a house.
Wow.
So like it used to be. And that's a major thing as far as I'm concerned, because if you go into a land subdivision and buy a lot, that development process has already been done. Then you have to do it again. And that's a long process.
Yeah, well, it's something, you know, maybe we can put that on our radar. I don't want to make, we're creating a new land use bylaw. The RFD is about to be finished here sometime in March. We'll see what that looks like. I don't know if that's on our planning team's radar, but you put it on mine. So if we can get that way, I do know that from a federal perspective, they've been wanting to reduce the red tape that hinders the new development of houses or the new builds. So if that's something that we can kind of lead the way in, or at least support as a municipality, I'm sure that would be all for that, because we have, as Brendan, as Mayor Kelly has indicated, we're a desirable community right now. There's so many active files our team is working on, builds, people want to get building, they don't want to delay. The process is lengthy, part of the process is regulatory, but if we can identify where the efficiencies are, how can we work with that red tape? Can we remove it? We will. So again, thank you so much for your question and how you brought it forward to us. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Right on. I'm going to circle back to Terry before we hear the delegation here in a minute. As you've reflected on your question, would it be better handled with the delegation, or do you want to provide some background context so that I can maybe deal with it live here?
Provide some context. I think it can be handled within the delegation.
So what I'm going to do then, Terry,
Yeah.
I'm going to have it handled within the delegation,
Mhm.
but I'm going to give you a little bit of freedom that if you feel it's not handled and you want to clarify something, then we'll deal with it then. Would that work?
Sure.
All right, let's do that.
Mhm.
All right. I understand that's the end of our question period. Did we have anything else come in since these came across my desk today?
That's it, Chair.
All right, thank you so much. And residents, I love question period. It's one of my favorite times. I know several communities have reached out to me, at least one community recently has reached out to me that their community has challenges when it comes to question period. Like it just gets blown up. And one of the counselors there was like, how do you guys do yours? I said, put it in the procedural bylaw, stick to what you've written and work from there, change the culture. And so they kind of had to go nuclear. They actually canceled their question period until they redo their procedural bylaw. And I must say, 8+ years I've been on council, I can only remember one question period where it got out of hand. So thank you for those residents that are here tonight with the questions you brought forward, the care with which you brought them, and how you presented them tonight. Kudos. Thank you so much. So at that, I don't think there's any motions arising out of question period, team. All right, we have no motions arising out of that. Delegation time. The desk table is yours. So if you want to pull up some more chairs, please do. We're going to try to get you on our mic. We don't have a mic for you, but Katie and Kirsty, if you would. Larry, are you going to join them?
I'll just sit here.
You'll sit here.
Wait,
So
Like, are we allowed to stand?
if you like to stand, but you're addressing council, not the chambers.
Well-
Keep that in mind.
That's true.
Yeah, please keep that in mind. You're not here engaged. And I do want to reiterate that. We have had delegations in the past that have come and tried to persuade the chambers to get excited about what they were saying. So at a gavel, I don't want to use it. I know Mayor Crane has probably used that twice in the time I've been on council. But chambers is a place of respect. It's all of democracy. And so please address us. And if chambers, you have comments, please keep them to yourself. We want order as much as possible with the discussion that we're about to have. So we have Kirsty Sarrazin with us and Katie Bacon. So identify yourself and lead the way, please, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Will somebody else do the slides?
Verna will, as you ask her to advance, she'll move them through.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for agreeing to hear us today.
has considered our request. Our presentation relates to the recent council decision to repurpose the second floor in the mezzanine of the oil fields arena.
First slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Kiersey Sarrazin. I'm one of the co-founders of Connections Nature Play, which is a licensed forest school in our town. We are under the umbrella of the Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center, which has multiple programs in our town and has a Valley Makerspace and also has workshops.
So I'm Katie Backen. I'm the other co-founder of Connections Nature Play. And we want to start by saying, go to the next slide, please. We want to start by saying that we fully respect the town's decision to move council chambers into the second floor of the arena and as well as develop some office space there. We have, it's your facility. It's entirely up to you, obviously, what you do with it. But we realize that this facility change has created a gap in our community. So we want to thank everyone who's come in person to acknowledge what's going on here and show your support, and also thank you for the opportunity, but also the people who tuned in online. Thank you for tuning in. We're grateful for the opportunity to present our proposal to fill this community gap, and so that we can hopefully work together to work toward a shared outcome. Next slide, please.
For the last 34 years in the upstairs mezzanine of the oil fields arena, there has been programs for families. The location is really great, and we find that across our town, we're actually very fortunate because we have lots of different programs available for people of all ages, including senior citizens, adults, and toddlers, families. But we kind of find that there's not a lot for teens at this moment, or in the future.
So in this space, you can see on the slide, there are 3 current programs that run in that space that will soon be the council chambers and offices. So Connections Nature Play is a licensed childcare program. We serve families with children ages 3 to 6. BGC, formerly known as Boys and Girls Club, they run the other 2 programs. One is a licensed before and after school care program for ages 6 to 12, and the other is a teen night program for ages 13 to 17. So this one space is being used quite efficiently right now to serve young people of all ages in our community. And I want to just point out that tonight, the word youth, we are using as a catch-all for children about, preschool age up to age 17, even though technically they're children and teens.
Excellent, thank you. As of June 30th, there'll be no dedicated space for use. The library has done a great job putting lots of different programs out there for all different ages. In 2025, they put 11 different programs out just for teens alone, which is amazing. There was only 36 people who attended out of all those 11. So roughly about 3 people per program, which is very unfortunate. We're not sure exactly why this is, if it's due to location, or maybe there's a stigma around the library and people are like, I don't want to hang out in the same place as my grandma, but we don't know, right?
Next slide, please. So when Kirsty and I founded Connections Nature Play, we looked at 24 locations here in this community and on the outskirts. We had a really hard time finding a space that was affordable for a fledgling nonprofit, also suitable because our program is a forest school. We need to be 3-year-old walking distance to really high quality nature, and also available for the hours that childcare needs. So because we've learned this was very hard for us to find a space, we think it'll probably be hard for other groups that are maybe trying to find space as well in our community. We want to thank the Turner Valley Legion for opening their doors to us in our first year of operation. That was instrumental for us. And we want to thank the town of Diamond Valley and BGC for opening the arena doors to us in October 2024. We're really grateful to be operating out of that space as it provides incredible access to nature right out the back door. We completely support the Diamond Valley Community Association's efforts to build a community recreation center, but we also realize that proposal is years out, possibly a decade. That's like all of our children will be adults by then. We feel that our youth in our community deserve a space that is dedicated to them, and we feel that they deserve it now.
We've been having conversations with various programs around town as well as members of our town, and we have lots of different support level letters from different programs, including the Sheep River Library, Diamond Valley Youth Foundation, Foothills Energy Co-op, Foothills Lions Club, as well as Western Skyland Trust. And we also have letters of support from our families in our program. We went around in the last week and we gathered 126 signatures, just an open letter to council, just to show our support within our community and about this idea that we have. And we plan on getting more signatures because we think that it will help us in our cause in the end and help us with fundraising.
So we're envisioning a very efficient, small, manageable space that has 2 rooms. One room for Connections Nature Play, because we're spearheading this project, and so we would hope that there could be a room dedicated for our program. The other room to be a multi-purpose space to be used by other organizations or individuals from our community that would like to host programming for our youth. On the screen, you can see some examples of the kinds of programming that could be done in that multi-purpose space. We are only committing to running the licensed childcare piece. That takes up a lot of our energy, but we fully support the idea of there being STEAM programming and cycling safety, bushcraft and wilderness skills, mental health workshops, junior maker workshops. There's so many things we could do. The library is great, but they're also almost at capacity. So we will be inviting partners to host other programming. The idea is that we need a space to support our youth. Sorry. Nope. To support their social, emotional well-being and their physical fitness and their intellectual development. And before we go on to the next slide, I just want to say thank you to the Foothills Energy Co-op. They've been really supportive of us and have given us over $20,000 in granting funds to get established. And now that we're established, we are a revenue positive program, which means that we can cover the operating costs of this small building.
Our plan will not be at any cost to the town and of any financial resources. However, it does rely on our in-kind support. Our plan could involve the purchase of this existing town resource, which we would purchase or lease to own from the town with the funds that we raise. If it's not available, we can purchase another portable building. It's not a make or breaker. This is just our fledgling idea for now.
Yeah. So our plan has 3 phases. The focus of tonight's presentation is the first phase. It's the town support phase. That part is critical. We don't have the town support, this project is dead in the water. But like Kirsty said, we're not asking for town money. In fact, there's a revenue source for you if you choose to sell us this building. So I'll just speak briefly to the second and third phases. The second phase, once we have town support and the project's underway, is fundraising. Diamond Valley Sustainable Living Center would take the lead on that. We have already submitted an application to Canada Revenue Agency for charitable status, and that will go a long way in order to be able to secure grant funds. We also plan to do some community fundraisers, maybe a GoFundMe. There's lots of ways to support. And we've learned just in circulating this open letter, just about every single person we've spoken with is very supportive of the idea that our youth need a space. We've only run into just a few people that have said they won't sign, but they have got their own reasons. The third phase is bringing the project to life. So that's where the rubber hits the road in terms of partnerships and collaboration and all the professional work that needs to be done, like transporting the building and preparing the site, hooking up the utilities. So the long-term operation of our proposed youth center will not become a line item for the town of Diamond Valley's operational budget in future.
So this is a bit of a recap. First, we're asking to purchase or lease own this building in right now. We're at 514 Windsor Avenue for people who are online and don't know where it is. And we're behind the brown building in a portable trailer, basically. The town, if your town already has plans for this building, that's totally fine. We were just looking to invest our money back into our town. But we can always purchase a different building. There's lots of different things. But the second thing is what we really want to explain to you guys is that we're not for profit and we're requesting permission to use town-owned land in the vicinity of the Sheep River Library.
Sheep River Valley.
Sheep River Valley. No, we're gonna put it right on top of that, right? No. Third, we're requesting the town support in navigating any zoning or permitting that would have to go along with this.
So you're probably wondering where we think this community youth center should go. So we believe that our community, can I get up and point to this? Okay, we believe that.
Well, not touching it though, it's an active screen.
I won't go.
Okay, good.
So, right.
See what happens, touch, don't
Right
kick,
here
don't.
is Third Street, you're all familiar with that, where it has the two schools and the arena right on that. In behind the arena, there's already a space that's full of youth-focused outdoor infrastructure. There's outdoor fitness equipment, 2 skate parks, mountain bike pump track. There are covered and uncovered outdoor rinks that in the summer turn into sports pads. There's Gray Park Natural Area with the pathways and the paved pathways and the trails. So there's a lot of great stuff already there for youth. And what Kirsty said earlier about the Sheep River Library hosting wonderful youth programs and having low turnout, it could be that it's hard for teens to get there. And so we really strongly believe that if we're going to build a youth center, we should build it where there's already youth infrastructure, where teens are already gathering. The next 2 slides show some parcels of town land that are on, so this slide is there on the east side of 3rd Street, and the next slide will be on the west side of 3rd Street, and Kirsty will speak to this.
Oh, sorry, go back to the last one, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is divided into 3 different pieces. It's actually one piece of land. We would just be asking to borrow one of them, and we would maintain it and retain stewardship and make sure it's nice. We wouldn't let it go crazy. This is just north of the Riverside community. Riverwood community, and the southeast corner of 6th Avenue and 3rd Street.
Next slide, please. And these 3 parcels of land, again, they're adjacent to one another. There are a couple of different spots here that we think would be ideal for this structure or another one like it to be placed there in order to provide a space for youth. And we are definitely open to working with the town. If you have other ideas of land that would be suitable for this, these are just the ones that we've come up with that we think check all the boxes, but yeah.
When you feel supported and cared for and listen to, the whole community benefits. This helps with retention of young people and our overall community's cohesiveness. Youth who feel connected are more likely to stay in our community as adults and are less likely to commit crime as they feel pride for the community.
We're open to new ideas. We're open to building partnerships, but we realize there's a gap here. So if you have other ideas, bring them on. But otherwise, I think we have a pretty solid plan that won't cost us not any money. We just want to work toward a shared goal of ensuring our community is welcoming to everyone, including our community's young people. We hope you'll support us in moving forward and establishing a space for our children and youth.
All right, thank you very much, Katie and Kirsty. You want to clap for them? That's excellent. You know, I must say that in the 8+ years I've served on council, this is probably the best delegation we've had with the information that you've provided and the request and the clarity of it. And I really thank you for taking that time to do it in a way that is what I would consider proper. But council, enough of my voice. I want to hear from you, what your concerns are, what your questions might be. As usual, what we followed prior to this, I want to open the floor to our attendees online, to Mayor Kelly or Councillor Holiday. Who wants to jump in first from your remote location, please?
I can
Start with doing a process.
Just
Sorry.
yeah. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, first of all, do we has the value of the trailer been established and the costs to hook up and move and all of that? Has it been provided that to the club, or is that still unknown?
That's a great question, Councillor Holiday, and I'm going to direct that question to our CAO. We have some preliminary numbers on that, but nothing definitive. But CAO?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, yeah, the assessment for this building, we're gonna sell it on govdeals.com. It's approximately $100,000. Local movies starting about $25,000, then hook up for water, power, and sewer, about $15,000 per, assuming there's actual hookups. So about $175,000 to get this building off this site and hooked up somewhere else.
if we were even to do that within. Because we, if I remember correctly, we actually looked at transporting this for our own needs to a different place. And we looked at 25 grand, or like, really? Seriously? That's big money just to do that. Now, keep in mind, when we're talking this kind of money, from a budget perspective, from a town, if we were to transfer this over to the town's responsibility, every 80% increase, or pardon me, every $80,000 increase in our municipal budget is a 1% increase for people's property taxes. So it's a significant amount when we start looking at that. So if we were to do that, we would be looking at a 2.5% tax increase just for one-time deal. And that's significant. So that question is answered there. Before we jump to Councillor Fleming, Mayor Kelly, do you have any comments to make on that?
Did you miss that we're not asking the town to pay this money?
I understand.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
just not to
understand.
be like you were justifying why the town is
No,
going to do this.
not at
Okay.
all.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's just a heads up.
You know,
Yeah,
what?
sort of.
we
100%.
thought it was gonna be more like $300,000 to $400,000 for all of the professional fees,
That's
so,
for.
so 200,000,
Potentially, it could be higher.
yeah.
Yeah,
but
the minimum. Yeah. So-
Fully funded.
So let's go ahead to Mayor Kelly. Do you have any comments there?
Not so much comments, just as you said, Deputy Mayor Gordon, really appreciate the delegation and the information that they brought forward. I guess the only piece that, I mean, I just need more clarity, as Councillor Holiday had just mentioned, about the costs associated with it. And while I understand that the delegation is not asking necessarily for a handout, I just need more information potentially as we move forward with a delegation like this as to how we would secure lands and establish hookups. There's just a lot of question marks, I guess, for me. While I do support an organization like this in town without very much hesitation whatsoever, I know that the BGC had been dealing with enrollment concerns, and they didn't have a lot of families still using that service. And so I guess I'm fearful in a sense of, if too much time and consideration from the town's perspective is put into that, what's the size of, like, how many families does a group like this service? Are we looking for that to expand? What if it declines? There's just a lot of question marks for me. So I'll just kind of leave it at that and continue to listen to some of the other questions and answers as they come.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thanks for bringing that forward. Councillor Fleming.
First question would be, what is your timeline? Because we've got our agenda that we're working with on what we're doing with the trailer, how we're moving into things. So what is your timeline and how will it align with ours? That's probably a good starting point, because there's a lot of things we're going to cover.
Well, I know that we are leaving the top of the arena at the end of June, and I'm not sure how long you guys are taking to renovate it and using the space still, I'm sure, until it's renovated.
So our timeline is, we are already working on an interim location for the forest school. So it's not like, we need this for September. Our thought is, we're recognizing the town will continue to use this space until the new space at the arena is done being renovated. So that will take time. We would like to have the place open and operational for September 2027.
Yeah.
And I just want this is a comment. It's not with your group specifically, but I know that my daughter's been attending teen night, and from when she started going there to what it is now, it has changed the lives of so many teenagers. So this type of is very important to a father, and seeing other parents as their children grow up, a safe place for teenagers to go. Because you don't do that, you know what they get into, right?
And I do know that Mayor Kelly is correct with the BGC numbers going down, but that's with the after school care. Okay.
That is not the teen night.
That's
Sure.
And I understand that you're actually trying to open it up to more groups than what is just going on right now.
Well, and
If you build it, they will come.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have a meeting next week with Rediscover Play, who is big on bushcraft and wilderness skills as a means of supporting youth in their social, emotional maturity and their mental health well-being. So like, we think that these kinds of programming, we get emails all the time. Are you guys doing any bushcraft camps this summer? And we are not, because we are maxed. So we know that there is a desire in the community for this kind of programming. And I'm not saying anything bad about BGC, but what they were offering there was stuff that kids can do at home unsupervised, right? They can play Lego at home. They can play video games at home. And so we're huge supporters of the idea of getting kids away from screens after school and getting them outdoors and doing things. So that's why the location is so important.
I know that it aligns a lot with what we've been talking about in recent things with taxes and cutbacks and stuff, is working with our nonprofit organizations to supply these things, because as a town, the costs are so high and they don't get done poorly, and it's a big cost to the town and the taxpayer. So I'm very grateful to have someone like yourselves step up and say, we don't want money, we just want someone to do it.
Yeah,
We just need the land, and the town already owns the land.
yeah. We just need help with permitting it.
Councillor Bain.
I'm gonna break one of my personal rules and repeat something that has already been said. But in this case, you definitely deserve commendation. That is one of the best, if not the best, presentations that I've heard in my third term on council.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the amount of time and effort you put into this. I can't commit anything on behalf of council, but you have my phone number if you need something else. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor
It
Bain.
was a pretty good delegation too, no?
Whenever you can
What?
put your own horn.
The delegation I gave 10 years ago was even better.
I just had a question
Go
for you
ahead.
guys. I've just been writing them down as you guys were going through. So the idea is to move the building and like the town, you're just gonna lease the land from
Yeah.
the town, or we do it, we just, okay?
However, the town would like that to be.
So you're
done.
open to how
We're,
that all
we're
is.
open. If the town wants us to pay rent, we'll figure it out, right? But I know there's a lot of, there's precedent across Alberta's land base for what I know as dispositions. I don't know if that's the term that municipal government uses, where a certain level of government or a nonprofit organization uses land that is owned by provincial, I know the provincial park system a little bit better, so there are lots of examples, say in Fish Creek Provincial Park, where, you know, a not-for-profit organization, what's it called, the Ranch at Fish Creek Restoration Society, they run the ranch restaurant, for example. So the land is still owned by the provincial government, and the nonprofit organization, I think they pay, my husband works there, they pay a very small amount every year to the government. I don't know what it is, but it's like a very nominal fee. It's like $500 a year or something. I'm sure they make way more than that, but that's a for-profit restaurant run by a not-for-profit. Obviously, youth center is not going to be making the kinds of revenue that the ranch restaurant makes. But, you know, if the town does want some sort of financial payment monthly or annually, you know, as long as it's manageable, we have no issue with that. We're not rolling in the dough at Connections Maker Play, but, you know, it's a two-way street, right? We would like to use the land, and if the town wants payment for that, we can.
And we definitely would maintain it and everything, and that would be better for the town because they're already paying for it to be maintained.
Yeah, so then your Parks and Rec staff wouldn't have to take care of it anymore. We could do the mowing. And maybe put in some gardens and set up a community garden.
Make it all.
All right. What else do we have
Okay,
here?
sorry. But kind of piggybacking on Colin's question, he's got teenagers. I don't, all my kids are 10 and under, so I wanted to know the participation that happens at teen night. And then with all the organizations that are backing you, because I've read this, what are your projected participation numbers with the organizations that are considering jumping in on this with you guys?
We haven't gone that far, because we needed, like, there's no point in doing all that if we don't have the town support. So we can't, and we also don't want to speak for BGC, but we know that their teen night is well attended.
They had 40 people last week in 2
So
days.
like 40, okay.
40 kids in 3 nights.
And then my last question, with the Boys and Girls Club moving, have you guys spoken with them and considered doing anything with them going forward? Or are you guys trying to move away from the Boys and Girls
No,
Club?
nothing against that, but the space that they have been offered by the town, the Claire and Derrick, is not suitable for our program
Yes.
for a number of reasons. Number one, it's a takedown every day. We run 5 days a week with little kids, and we have a lot of play materials, and we can't take down every day. That just does not.
And there's no storage there.
There's no storage there. We already had a meeting with Laura Lee from the town couple of years ago about using the flare and derrick, and
Yeah.
we learned at that time that that facility is not suitable for what we need.
Yeah.
But also the location, like, there's a lot of green space around there. Green space is not the same as nature. So, bushcraft programming, environmental education programming, the kind of stuff we do
Stewardship programming.
requires loose parts. It requires sticks. It requires
Trees.
And like Millennium Park is beautiful, but
Not
they'll
great
be,
nature.
the kids will find one stick and fight over it.
Yeah,
Whereas
and we
we're
can't
in
take
forests.
forests in the lawn. I think you would get upset.
Yeah,
Now gophers,
no, we need,
plenty of those holes.
our program quality increased when we moved from this side of town to the other side of town because of the access to really high quality nature. The kids now can engage with wetlands and grasslands, riverine habitat and forest, which they couldn't do on the side of town.
Black diamond.
It's Diamondback.
So if we
We're
move the
Diamondback.
program back to this side of town, our program quality would suffer.
Thanks for that. I believe Councillor Holiday has some comments.
Yeah, I do. Just maybe as a bit of information for people that are listening, in case they don't know, that our schools are fully open for not-for-profits in the evenings, for programming. I know they run belly dance once a week out of oil fields, and it's like $120 a year. Like, that's it. $60 if it's just a classroom, $120 if it's gym. If you want to do it at a time where they don't have janitors, it is more. But there are spaces available for not-for-profits in the evenings. So I just want to clarify that some people don't know that, but it's available at all our schools. And 32% of our tax dollars are going to fund the public system and these buildings. So if we can get more people using them, that's great. So that's kind of more of a side. I know the problem here is that there's a daytime daycare program, and obviously the schools don't work for that. But we as a council, I don't know if it's been since the new council's been on, we have in the past come under scrutiny for helping from our private daycare operators, for helping other, the not-for-profits. I know there's a bit of a competition there. So we do need to be a little aware of that scrutiny that we're under. But obviously, if we have something that's up for sale, it's up for sale for anybody. When it comes to selling the building, and the land is obviously a totally different question. But I think if it makes us money, I think taxpayers could get on board with that.
Yeah, we would have to look at the business case for that. CEO, yes, saw your hand.
Thanks, Jared. I thought I could just ground this a bit by addressing our 3 questions. So, ACO trailer, this should be for sale June-ish. So obviously anyone can bid on it. Highest bidder will likely win. Town land council has directed that we actually divest up to 11 parcels of town land. Most being identified will be going for sale for 6 to 7 figures. So that's part of the town's plan to keep taxes reasonable in the future. Number 3, permitting in kind. There's no such thing. That's all tax dollars, right? So any in kind that you direct administration to do, back to, if we tie that to the gentleman who asked about planning capacity, then you will have your in kind costs competing with paying customers. So just keep that in mind. So I guess if I was able to offer anything to keep it fair and above board and in accordance with the legislation, ACO trailer, again, anyone can bid on it. So it is for sale or will be for sale. Town land, same thing. Anyone can make the bid on that. That's coming back April 15th. So we'll have a discussion about that at that council meeting. And number 3, for the application, easiest thing is to always just make an application. Pay the fees, sit down with planning and development, and then it's fair to those paying customers as well. That's all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, well said, and that summarized some of my thoughts as well. So thank you for that. One of the concerns I do have with this request, this is not the first request we've had that's very similar to this. Different association, different organization, but looking for town facilities to support what they do privately. And that's a challenge for us to do 100%. We have to, as council, we're mandated by the MGA to be very cognizant of supporting all and every. And that's the challenge, and how to identify that. CAO Davey identified what council is hoping to do with our land disposal that we're coming forward with these 11 parcels. We are, just put it in context for everybody. Our auditing team, last year's audit, showed that in order for us to really maintain and I hate to use the word, but I will, maintain a level of sustainability over time, we have a infrastructure replacement and an amortization need of close to $4 million annually to just maintain what we have. Put this in context. The provincial government, with the funding that to provide municipalities, is roughly $1.3 to $1.5 million. So we have a shortfall out of the gate of $2.5 million annually. And we have significant infrastructure concerns. One that I don't mind sharing is the last summer, the main lift station on the opposite side of the river down in Old Dog Pound. That has ruptured on several occasions. We know we need to replace that, and that's going to be upwards of $10 million. So we have to really, as a council, take a step back and look at this from a high level. What will we do with the resources we have that benefit the entirety of the community over the long term? Now, when I first was elected in 2017, part of my platform then was the concern for recreational spaces for our young people. Whatever that facility looked like, to support community associations to run those programs within. At the time, the Flare and Derrick was slated to be mothballed, and we've stretched that out and we keep stretching it out. We know we need facilities. There's no doubt about that. How we move forward with that in a plan that is actually executable with the lack of resource revenue we have right now, that's the challenge. So we would definitely need to see a business case for the land. Should you I would recommend that you identify one parcel, create a business case, look at what it would be costing that. Because we have a responsibility as a council. We can't pick and choose whether they're for-profits or non-profits. It's private industry. If Kids Connection was sitting here, I'd say the same thing. If my daughter's day home was sitting here, I'd say the same thing. If she needed a facility, I would put the barriers up because of the fact that we have to be very cognizant for the benefit of the entire community with the assets we currently have. And so if it aligns with our responsibility, then we can approach that from a very reasonable perspective. But the cost of land, the value of land, heard some figures this afternoon with CAO Davey. When he says 6 figures, they're well beyond that. They're 7 figures. And so for us to be responsible as a council with the community at large, we would have to consider the value of that property and the real market value, not a value that subsidizes in a situation like that. It's a challenge. I know our young people need it. I was hoping to see something before my kids became, my daughter's 32, my son's 25. And I was hoping to have a recreational facility that my son could be using by the time he hit his early 20s. Didn't happen. The town of Edson, they put in a recreational facility that is quite nice. And I think Carrie Florzone can speak to this. It's pushing $87 million now, and it's not a large center. Belmont, a subdivision in Calgary. I think it's Belmont. I just saw their project for their new facility. I mean, it's it's over $100 million. So I understand what you're saying and how you can work with us, but until we have a real clear business case of the value that it is for the community, and I'm talking financial value, for us to give an asset that has substantial value to it, we have to make a decision based on that.
That's totally fair. Just to address what CAO Davey said, we're not suggesting that we skirt the system and not pay the fees. We would absolutely pay the fees required. We plan to do a lot of fundraising. What we're just asking for is for the town if the town agrees with this plan, then please don't put up barriers to the zoning, because we need it to be zoned properly in order to run a licensed childcare program with it.
Obviously, yeah.
And with regards to yes, if the town has pieces of land that you could sell, by all means. I can think of at least three of the pieces of land that we've proposed on this presentation that I mean, I could be I could be corrected, but if you want to go back a few slides.
Yeah, we don't need to identify those right now,
Yeah,
Katie.
they're
'Cause this is-
they're not land that you would be able to sell
Sure.
to a church group to build a church or to a developer to build homes. These are little tiny, like little squiggles of land next to the exercise
Well,
equipment.
but you'd be surprised what certain people are willing to purchase. We have some files on our table that I looked at that and was like, why would you even want that? But they're available land, and so we have to take that to market.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's the thing that we are responsible to do. There's a regulated process that we have to follow in the MGA for disposal of lands. In fact, we just got a couple, that's on our docket, one of our tangible capital assets policy disposal that we have to look at. We have to follow a certain bylaw and policy to do that. So it's not as simple as us tonight waving the wand and saying, yeah, let's get this done.
No, they're
So
going to that.
you brought it to our attention very well, and I do thank you for the clarity. We have to give it consideration, which we do with every organization that comes to us. We have to see what works best for the community at large. And we can't pick and choose, we can't cherry pick who we support and who we don't. That's
Absolutely.
gotten us, as Councillor Holiday has said, that's gotten us in trouble in the past. And
One closing remark.
when I'm done. What I would say about this, and I want to give some clarity as to why we're very cautious with this. One of the things you've noticed we've done in our last two budget cycles is to really focus on back to the basics. What is a municipal government to supply in a municipality? When we go down the path of supporting the nice to haves, we open the door to the deficit we now face. City of Calgary has done that for decades, and they're facing the Bow River feeder main of $8 billion. They're patching it right now, hoping it doesn't go through. I don't want to put the town in this place. So with the assets we have to keep that in mind as to where are they best used for the benefit of the community. So we've taken a back to basics governance model. It's very tight. As Carrie Florzone has mentioned, we reduced staffing of 20%. And what we reduced predominantly was those elements that were nice to have. They didn't fit in the basics of governance. It's a challenging decision we've had to make. And I don't think there's a councillor here that has not had a sleepless night over those decisions, because we know what's being impacted. Do our children need your support? 100%. I love your vision. But are we able to move forward together? That's the question that is really not defined at the moment. But final thoughts, Katie, very quickly, please.
Well, just that serving our youth is not something you can necessarily monetize. But what we are proposing is a social enterprise where our not-for-profit childcare program is the financial engine that allows youth to have a space in our community.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. But again, thank you, Kirsty. Thank you, Katie, for an excellent presentation. I love your passion. I fully appreciate it. I've known Theo since he was a little buddy with my daughter's day home. Had a good connection with him, and so I know your care for children is precious. And we'll see what we can do. But please leave it with us, and we'll see what happens once we have our next council meeting. We talk about land disposal, and if you would, put a business case together. See what can be done, what you're projecting as far as a potential provision. Should we give you a said piece of property at a lease that works for you, but that would also satisfy the town? That would be my recommendation, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Is that something you just do on the
No, you would have to do the business case, get your team involved, whoever can help you, and just send it our way
Okay.
as a follow-up.
Like,
Yeah.
how do we submit?
Oh, just submit it as a follow-up to tonight, that's all.
Okay.
And it'll come across our desk, and
So
we'll,
tomorrow night?
and we'll determine exactly what our next steps will be. Terry, does that answer your questions for the most part? Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, well, I do have, as part of my question, because you're mentioning the back to basics budget.
Yeah.
And I'm just, what I'm hearing is, or what I'm concerned about in my question is how much is your back to basics budget actually taking into consideration the costs incurred in
Oh,
the
you mean
future?
the intangible costs?
No, I don't mean the intangible costs. I mean, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. There are costs involved with not having a dedicated space for the youth in the town. The town does actually incur costs because of that, now and in the future. And I'm just
for
wondering,
relevance, what cost would that be?
okay, have it written here. So with Diamond Valley's projected growth rate of 2.5% and 500 new residents in the next 4 years, youth infrastructure is a necessary step to protect our community and our municipal budget from the impacts of an increasing population. So without a dedicated youth infrastructure, population increases are linked to a rise in reported mischief incidences and a corresponding strain on the parks and facility maintenance budget and to address vandalism. So moreover, research by Public Safety Canada and the Government of Alberta quantifies the return on investment for dedicated youth centers in Alberta communities as every $1 invested in a dedicated youth center equals $2.93 in social value, specifically through the reduction of police incidences, including vandalism, mischief, shoplifting, and substance abuse. So that's just one example of like how my question about how is your back to basics budget planning for the future?
That's a great question.
Saving.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we say back to basics, we're really focusing first and foremost on core services where we are today.
Mhm.
So as we get a handle on those core services, then definitely we can explore more. So if we look ahead over the next couple of years, there's some significant commercial properties being developed that will greatly significantly increase our non-residential tax. This year's assessment, we haven't looked at the final numbers yet, but we're looking at about our property taxes right now are borne by 93% of our tax revenue from property is borne by residential properties. So we have 7 to 8% of our property taxes provided by non-residential. Sustainable communities over time need closer to a 70-30 split. So we are dramatically behind. And until we get that right, it's very challenging for us, though I totally support your and I've read those same documents myself in the same files, and why in my private life I've always supported and been involved in associations or community groups that focus on young people, is because of the value that is the intangibles. What does it mean over time if those aren't there? So those are very much on our radar. How we can support that, that's always going to be the challenge. And I think every municipality in Canada, we are ahead of the curve, so that we are told from those who have helped us with strategic planning in the last year and a half, we are ahead of the curve with decisions we've made. Because other communities are going to have to make the hard decisions. They're playing catch up. So I've got Mayor Kelly online.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jonathan Gordon. And I think just before you commented, I had very, very similar things to say. And for a lot of our not-for-profits and for our volunteer organizations, we have a lot of schools that sit empty at night. We have a lot of churches. We have a lot of community organizations that are also not-for-profit that sit empty. And we need to collaborate. This is not a you're not doing enough, or we need more volunteers type situation. We need to band together as a community and make sure that we can find, in essence, where those inefficiencies lie and use some of those resources that the community already has available to them before we consider stretching our arms too far, too quickly, and spending more taxpayers' dollars. So we just need to be very careful as a council. And that was kind of the point with that back to basics budget. And our planner, Carrie, had mentioned this earlier, is like, we want to strategically grow. We cut, we want to focus, we want to be really, really good at what we're doing. And as we become better at what we're doing, then we can expand, then we can hire, then we can look to more of these groups. But we have a lot of resources in the community that we currently have that are probably underutilized. And we want to make sure that the groups that are looking to come to us with answers also explore those. And it's not to say that these groups have not done that, but we just need to be more forward thinking in that regard. And that's all I've got for now. Thank you.
That's excellent. I think that concludes and really summarizes where we're at as a council. So thank you very much, Mayor Kelly, for adding that. Again, thank you, team, for coming and presenting to us tonight. Much appreciated. On that note, let's move to 8.1. It's only 7:30, council. We're doing okay to push through here. Do you want a recess? Yeah, let's get some fresh air going. We should have had council outside tonight. It's so beautiful. So let's take about a 5-minute recess. So thank you so much for the extra time you've given us. Cindy and Brendan, thank you so much for waiting for us. We're just communicating with those in chambers. Let's move on to our bylaws and policies. In front of us is bylaw 2026-131, where we're amending our rates and fees bylaw. Council, I fully expect that you've read this.
Yes.
And I must say, I love these red line additions, right? We can see exactly what's been amended, and then we have the draft after that. So, council, as you look through that, I know Lisa is prepared to answer any questions that we have before we move forward with this. And so, council, I'm going to open the floor to you to see what questions you might have regarding our fee schedule. Keep in mind, we did review this during our committee of the whole, if I'm not mistaken. And so nothing should be a surprise to us, but if you have your questions, please bring them forward. All right, so I'm going to reverse it. So Brendan and Cindy, you're going to have to wait for us. I've got Councillor Martin and then Councillor Fleming.
Just,
Yeah, please use your mic just so they can hear us.
just a question on the condominium certificate application on page 99, of our agenda under Schedule A. There doesn't seem to be a base fee.
Through the chair, it's just $40 per dwelling unit. That's the fee.
That is a fee.
Yeah.
And then just a second one, this is again just a comment. On page 101, Schedule A. Under the permit plan and environmental search, under residential. You have less than 1 hour is $100, over 1 hour is $300. Should there be a maximum there of how many hours?
Through the chair at council's discretion, we could break it out further.
Because I wonder just how long, how
Page is that again, Hazel? I'm not finding.
on page 101, Schedule A. Because I'm just wondering sometimes how deep.
Is that the permanent plan environmental research?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Infrequently receive these requests.
Not very often, infrequently. Okay, then I'm fine with that.
Perfect. All right. Councillor Fleming.
You know, I feel silly by asking it, but I just saw that the NSFP was $25. Is that still legit? Because I thought eggs went to 40.
Yeah, they can only do 10 now, actually.
Eggs, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the only question I had.
Good question. All right. Anybody here in chambers have any other questions or concerns regarding that? Councillor Holiday or Mayor Kelly, do you have anything to add? Concerns or questions regarding the rates and fees bylaw that is before us?
No, I had no concerns with it. I didn't pick up anything from the red line that I was concerned about. I'm happy to have higher fees so that we can shift some of the burden from the taxpayers onto those who are looking to develop.
Yeah, I think that's well said, Councillor Holiday. And even one of the things, hopefully, as we have these fees in place and they become a little bit more relevant to the task, shall I say, it's been identified by the question from Mr. Ashmore regarding capacity. We've heard that from our planning team. I think that's a conversation we're going to have to really have is what will we need to do regarding staffing of our planning team? Is that something that we need to expand? And hopefully, as we get these fees in place, especially from a planning side, I wonder if we can support that. So well stated, Councillor Holiday. How about you, Mayor Kelly? Anything to add to this?
Yeah, and you know, well captured there, Deputy Mayor Gordon. Just one thing to note to the public, right, is that we often play a game of balancing future development, what we currently have in the community, and when we look at these types of fees, and I just quickly want to mention our water utility, is that we don't want our overall tax collection to offset a lot of these other projects. And so what I mean by that is when I turn my tap on and I use water, I want to be responsible for paying for that. I don't want the greater good of the community to have to offset that cost. And so that's where we're leaning more and more towards in our planning department. And so I think that this is very well produced. And I think that the conversation that council had when it came to these rates and fees has been well executed. I thank administration for that. And is anything perfect? Absolutely not. But we're trying to find the best balance possible. And I think that this document does that. Thanks.
Yeah, excellent summary. That's a great summary. We're looking for cost recovery where we can, using the utility rate bylaw for that as well within. So very well stated. Councillor Kelly, Mayor Kelly, Hazel, did you have a question before I ask him to put a motion forward? Yeah, since you're there, Mayor Kelly, why don't you provide us the first motion regarding our fees bylaw here, please?
Okay.
Do you have it easily seen? It is page 55 of our agenda.
I have it right here, and it has to deal with, okay, stop me if I'm wrong. The council give first reading to bylaw 2026-131. Am I on the right track here?
You got it. Yeah.
Okay. To amend bylaw 2025-125, the 2026 rates and fees bylaw, and as Councillor Bain says, I have no further comment or question.
All right. So we have our first reading motion on the table. All in favor? That is unanimous. And Councillor Holiday and Mayor Kelly, when we get to motion number 3, I will ask for your verbal confirmation there because that needs to be unanimous for us to go forward. So just a heads up on that. All right. Councillor Holiday, would you like to give motion number 2 there, please? Just turn it on.
Yeah, the council gave bylaw 2026-131 second reading.
Perfect. So before we call that to vote. Oh, didn't vote on the first motion. All in favor on the first motion. Okay, that is carried unanimously without hearing objection from Councillor Holiday or Mayor Kelly. Councillor Holiday has given us the second motion here that council gives this bylaw its second reading. But before I call the vote, Hazel, you had a comment, I believe.
I was just gonna ask after we go through all our motions here, if I could make a comment afterwards.
Once we're done.
Yes,
100% you may.
thank you.
I don't mind that at all. All right, so we have the second motion on the table. All in favor? Excellent, and that is carried. Councillor Bain, why don't you give us the third option or third motion here, please?
The council agreed to present bylaw 2026-131 for third reading at this meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Councillor Holiday, I believe you said aye. Councillor Mayor Kelly, please.
Aye.
Excellent. So that's voted unanimously, so we can move on. Councillor Bros, why don't you give us the fourth motion here?
Council gives third and final reading to bylaw 2026-131 to amend bylaw 2025-125 to 2026 rates and fees bylaw.
Excellent, excellent motion. So all in favor? And
Aye.
why don't we get that from, thank you, Mayor Kelly, Councillor Holiday?
Yep.
All right, perfect. That's carried unanimously. And Councillor Martin, why don't you wrap this one up with a comment?
Thank you to everyone for all the work that has gone on
100%.
to working on these fees. I just have, this year we took a really deep dive into our planning fees. I'm wondering for 2027, if council or if administration would maybe have any appetite to be looking at the fees for the business licenses so that we can streamline them. And secondly, is look at Ball Diamond and the soccer pitch.
Some of our other facility usage
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Good question. I'll direct that to our CAO.
Thanks, Chair. If you have the first one, I'll send it over to Carrie.
Thank you. Planning, Planning and Protective Services have been working together for an internal transfer of responsibility with regards to business license bylaw. So we're in the process of finalizing the draft bylaw currently that will be the Diamond Valley Business License bylaw. And then the responsibility for administration of that bylaw will shift over to Protective Services. At that time, it was anticipated that we would come forward with a review of the fees.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much, Carrie.
You know, and if I can just add a quick add-on to that, I really appreciate how administration is really proactive in such
Yeah.
matters like that. It really helps us as council, and it really gives us confidence in supporting decisions that we obviously need to make. So thanks for that proactive approach. As far as facilities, I think we do review that regularly anyway, don't we? Lisa, are we looking at the Ball Diamond, the soccer pitch? How is that approached annually?
We actually have, we just had a meeting, finance and recreation. So currently, the Ball Diamond and soccer fields are not being charged out, but we have discussed that as a possibility just to cover admin time. So I could bring some suggestions for that back after I talk to Craig. The rates and fees bylaw will be coming back in Q3 because utility rates will need to be adjusted to be effective for January 1.
Would you need a motion on that to make sure it's on your radar?
Yeah.
Why don't we make that a motion that, Hazel, if you don't mind, that council direct administration to review the rates for our facilities that are leased or rented out, including, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'd adjust it to introduce
The
fees
for
for
the Ball Diamond
Ball
and,
Diamond.
and soccer pitch.
Perfect. It's an introduction. It's not a review of, yeah. And even Ashley, why don't you speak to that? Because you had some, it makes sense, right?
Well, yeah, I think like all the user groups and like sports community, we all have to pay to use something in town. And I mean, as the administration, as taxpayers have to pay somebody to maintain all of this. So we should have some cost recovery on it.
Yeah, I think
And groups also have casino funding.
that's fair enough.
And that goes to facility rentals too. That can be applied to facility rentals.
No, so that's great to hear. So we have a motion on the table to, for council to direct administration to introduce fees for facilities such as the Ball Diamond and the soccer pitch. And we'll leave it at that, such as, in case there's other facilities that might need to be reviewed or introduced.
Thank you very much.
Excellent motion, Hazel. Any other questions on this motion? Brendan or Cindy? I don't see your hand going up, so I think we can call for the vote here. So all in favor of this motion presented by Councillor Martin. All right, that is unanimous. We're going to move forward. Great motion there, Councillor Martin. We do need to consider those facilities. There's a cost to them. You know, the maintenance of the field, they get in there.
Staff that are maintaining
Yeah,
them.
100%.
There will be a cost to manage that.
There is, and that's part of the challenge too,
Yeah.
right? There's always the opposite. Councillor Fleming, very well said.
Yeah.
All right, team, let's move to 8.2. We have a new financial policy in front of us, policy FIN. I always want to use the call letters here, Foxtrot, Info November, right? 037, disposal of surplus, tangible capital assets and lost property. Since this is a brand new policy, I know we've read it, but if CAO doesn't mind, maybe have Lisa speak to this, give us a very high overview of it. It's a bit of an add-on to the policy that we looked at recently. So maybe just introduce it for the residents.
Sure. So this policy is new to the town of Diamond Valley. I think it's an important policy as disposal of capital assets are important and impact, depending on timing and where we are in life cycle, impact our financials. So this policy is pretty straightforward. Huge thank you to Verna and Iris for putting this policy together. I just review it. And so I want to take the credit for writing this, but yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward and provides staff management with a clear path forward to disposing of assets and how that needs to be handled.
So a question I do have on that, and so well stated, and team, thanks for great work, Vernon and Iris, I love how you give us the screenshot of the MGA as well. Saves me from digging out what page is this and what article is it? Mine is out of date anyway. Question I do have, where does our land fit into this? The disposal of surplus lands? Is that a separate policy? If I may, through the CAO?
Yep. We do have a sale of municipal lands. When it is just a normal parcel of land that we own, we can dispose of it fairly quickly and easily. Council determines the method of sale. When there is a reserve dedication, such as municipal reserve, there's a couple extra steps to remove that reserve dedication. It's basically council says, yep, we're really good with that. And then a little bit more work on the back end in terms of an actual sale price that we need to achieve for the property and how the proceeds of that sale can actually be allocated within future budgets.
Perfect. So that answers that question perfectly. Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer. Much appreciated. All right, council, we have a motion here that we need to move forward with this. As Verna shows it on the screen, who wants to give us, I assume based on our discussion, before we go to the motion, is there any questions that you have for administration? Cindy, do you have any questions? I know you had one regarding the previous policy, so go ahead,
No,
Cindy.
I did have a question. I'm just wondering, I know it's most of things that we're selling usually don't have much of a surplus, much of a value near the end of life, if it's usually. But there might be cases such as the trailer, the ATCO trailer, that there are high value items. So I'm just wondering if it would be wise to put in that rather than if it's over a certain dollar value, that it would be approved by the CAO or approved by council if it was a very large value before it's deemed surplus and disposed of.
So I'll direct that to CAO, and he's got some thoughts there.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I don't know if it's necessary to amend it, but in particular for this ATCO trailer, we will be discussing it April 15th. Then the actual decision point will come from council because essentially the dollar value. If it would make council more comfortable, then yeah, we could make an amendment to maybe $100,000 or more, something like that. Because of course, a lot of our equipment is high value, but I don't want to be taking the sale of an old trailer or dump truck to council. No, necessarily.
If I may, I'll ask Lisa to kind of give some direction there where it might be best to put in the policy if needed.
I would just like to say that when there is a sale of an asset, management has been pretty good, and this policy will reinforce it with the attached form in asking us what the net book value is. And it's usually in the manager's best interest to try and get as much revenue from a sale as possible. I'm not opposed to having a value in here to come to council, but I can't imagine a situation where we wouldn't run that by council because those big dollar amounts usually impact other decisions.
Yeah, so question I have, Councillor Holiday, we have fair value defined under number 6. Is that sufficient? Or would we add another definition for high value and put a dollar limit within the definition? And then kind of amend that article a little bit? What do you say, Councillor Holiday?
Yeah, I'm happy with $100,000. That should stand for quite a few years. I just think, this is for residents to read and just so they kind of know what we have our eyes on. I think it's useful as an education tool that anything really high value is going to be decided by council. I had thought about under 4.1, but my agenda, it's kind of freezing and I'm not finding it. So
Yeah,
I would thought it would be added 4.1 and then make it bullet C is what I have written down in my notes. So
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, because that's under town-owned surplus materials and equipment. That's section 4. number one deals with, since it's freezing, I'll just read it for the town. The classification of a TCA as surplus is the responsibility of the manager, requires notification to corporate services using the disposal of TCA form. Article A, an item will not be classified as surplus based solely on its estimated useful life, excess expectancy. It should be shown to be worn out, obsolete, or no longer needed. Article B says an item will be assigned an estimated fair value by the manager to be approved by the corporate services manager prior to any transfer, trade-in, sale, donation, or destruction of a TCA. Article C would then say a item classified as high value in excess of $100,000 would be brought forward to council.
Perfect. Perfect, Chair.
Does that work for you, Councillor Holiday? And I didn't use Copilot for that.
Good job.
All right. Perfect. Councillor Florzone, I'm reading your body language. What are your thoughts on that? I know it's not your department necessarily, but I saw some intrusive thoughts trying to make their way out, so.
Sorry, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just on the very end of that, brought to council for acknowledgement, for approval, for what is your role in that you're hoping to achieve so that we can administer properly.
I would assume our responsibility is approval of that disposal. So let's make sure it says the word approved there.
I got it.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much. Great question for clarification. All right, so what we'll need then, council, is a motion, unless, are there any other amendments, team? Are we good? All right, so we'll have to have a motion here that that council directs administration to
Then we add
implement, and we'll say as amended. We'll just leave it as amended because it'll be recorded. So number 2, council.
Yeah.
You want to give that one, Councillor Rhodes?
Nope.
Or Councillor?
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll put this
Or Councillor
in
Martin.
okay. That council authorized policy number FIN-037, disposal of surplus TCA and lost property as amended
By Councillor Holiday.
by Councillor Holiday.
Captures that amendment.
I'll just actually put the amendment.
You will. All right, excellent discussion on that, and really appreciate, as has been said multiple times tonight, the work that administration is doing. 37 policies in 2 years and 2 months into our amalgamation. So a lot of work being done and much appreciated. So we have a motion on the floor, team. All in favor? All right, that is carried unanimously. So we have a few action items here, and I assume that our Deputy Chief Dublé is here to speak to our mutual aid agreement with the town of Okotoks. So very similar. Hopefully our team has read that. I know we had some questions earlier, some formatting concerns, some things weren't lining up. I'm sure those have been identified, but Chief Dublé or Deputy Chief, why don't you speak to this? Give us an overview, please.
Yeah, basically, with the amalgamation of the two towns, as well as some of the risks we've identified, there is a need to establish a mutual aid agreement similar to what we have with Foothills County. This one being with the town of Okotoks, them being next closest resource. They have some unique equipment which we can't get out of some of the other neighboring communities. This has obviously been drafted between Fire Chief Moore and Fire Chief Bryce in Okotoks, and it's here for final approval before signatures. So if there's any questions, please.
We will ask a lot of questions, and just before I turn it over to Councillor Martin here, when I say formatting concerns, there's Article I in the definition, or under Article B, the letter I assume, after H is blank. So there's a couple of formatting things, but it would make sense because it's going back and forth between a couple of departments.
Right, and sort of the way these agreements are is they're kind of standard templates that you select and fill what meets the needs of both communities. So I imagine that this was part of that template from another mutual aid agreement they have. It's just a matter of going through and catching all those.
And clean it up before.
Correct.
Yeah, before it comes for signature. We can approve that before signature. Councillor Martin, you had some questions, I believe.
I believe on the, TJ had said he would like a 3-year agreement, not a 5-year.
Yeah, so that's pretty standard within fire departments who are accredited or who are going through the accreditation process. So you're familiar that we're going through that process. Okotoks is also going through that process. So part of that is that agreements, not just mutual aid agreements, but all agreements. And contracts are reviewed and or renewed every 3 years. So it's
Okay.
standard industry practice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions, Councillor Martin?
No, I'm good.
All right, Councillor Bain.
Paragraph 6.2. Pursuant to this agreement strictly in accordance with the FOIP Act.
Again.
Maybe updated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one of those things
Great
that,
catch.
Yeah, if
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
yeah.
And 9.2. Court of B, paragraph B, Court of Queen's Bench.
Court of King's Bench, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the numbering of this,
Eight
page
is-
5 of 6,
Mhm.
and then page 6 of 7.
Yeah.
Page 7 of 8.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Correct.
obviously, would it be better for us to have a clean copy?
Yeah.
Before we approve?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, because I do have a question to that, if you don't mind, council. When we see, sorry, let me just jump back. In section 5, we have responding to requests for assistance, and I'm trying to, it could just be my brain, Trevor, the way it works. So 5.1, upon receipt of request from assistance under section 4.1, I go back to section 4.1, that's the request for assistance brought forward. Where this kind of lost me is the way 5.2 is set up. Notwithstanding section 6.1,
Yeah.
whether or not assistance is provided. So I go down to 6.1 and I'm like, how does 6.1 deal with the request of request of assistance when it's dealing with the handling of information? I don't see the correlation there.
No, I agree.
Okay,
Yeah, no, there's some formatting things that.
is it formatting or is it? Because to me, it actually seemed like something's missing. That an article is being referred to that's not there, or it's a simple miss, CAO.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and you totally acknowledge all these issues, so two choices, we either send it back to a clean copy. Or you can just approve the strategic intent.
Well, I want to add extra work, both on different sides with our public safety director or with our services as they're setting up agendas. So I really would lean on you for what's best for the situation.
Yeah, I would just recommend council, point noted, this was, a fairly sloppy copy. Let's get council up here.
Okay.
The intent is, do you want to have a
Thank you.
mutual aid agreement with Okotoks?
We do.
I'll worry about periods and crossing Ts.
No, that's fine. Yeah. No, and you know, I'm just, I hate being detailed and technical sometimes. It's so analytical. It's like, I need to make this make sense. Do I though? No, I don't. I love it. But others may not like it so much. So honestly, I think, you know, thank TJ and the chief of Okotoks for us. Getting this in place is so critical. So council, why don't we move ahead? Go ahead.
So rather than authorize signing the mutual aid agreement, to sign a mutual aid agreement, does that cover it sufficiently? Because if we're saying the mutual aid agreement, then that is what we are authorizing to sign. Nothing changed.
Yeah, your worship, again, there's intent and implied, right?
Yeah.
So the council's not signing this, I am.
Exactly.
Right, so council's not gonna see this again.
Yeah.
So
And I think
again, it's up to council,
It's point well made there. I think we've made it clear to administration that a clean copy would satisfy us. But I think we need to stay at that strategic level. What's the intent? The intent is to move forward with mutual aid agreement with Okotoks. And what we have in front of us, we're not gonna see. Okay, let me put it this way, to kind of assuage some of your concerns there, Ted. What we see before us, the issues that are in front of us are not substantive to the content. They're substantive to the format, not the content. And if I may, if there's elements missing, I have confidence that our CAO is going to bring it back to council and say, this section was not in it. I want you to be aware of it. But CAO, go
Yeah,
ahead.
thanks, Chair. I mean, to put it simply, what we're looking for is council's authorization to help Okotoks and for Okotoks to help us.
And have a policy in place to
Parts
to work.
therein unlikely to see. So I just again remind council that very in the weeds.
Yeah.
Very tactical right now.
Fair point. Point taken. I will get out of the weeds. Councillor Holiday, take us out of the weeds, please.
Yeah, I was just gonna make the motion that council authorize administration and the mayor to sign the mutual aid agreement between the town of Okotoks and the town of Diamond Valley once formatting errors and numbering errors are cleaned up.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Works for me. All right, let's not beat a dead horse. Councillor Rob used to say, when the horse is dead, it's time to dismount. So, we'll have the motion on the floor. Councillor Holiday, thanks so much. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. And let's move ahead, team, to item 9.2. Some of the elements that are coming out of our closed discussion so that we make sure that we're proceeding in the best way possible to support the capital request in front of us. Council, I trust that you've read what is in front of us, what's been requested. At this time, I'm going to turn over to our CAO if there's a brief review needed. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Lisa, you want to just give us a quick 20-second?
Sure. Okay, so this RFD has 2 capital requests and then 1 update on information that will be coming back. So administration is looking to move forward with a request for quotes for the roof of the Flare and Derrick. There was also an update for the renovation of council chambers and the parks building that differs from what was approved in the capital budget. So I just wanted to give a brief update on where that is at and that will be coming back to council for your approval once we have the details and the final costs. And then the other item is a request for municipal enforcement to get 3 body cameras, 2 car cameras. They had planned to have this on the 2027 capital budget, but unfortunately they are failing. I think some have failed. And as I noted in the RFD, the staff time trying to get the video uploaded is extremely costly to them.
Time is money. Time is money. So well stated. Thank you, Lisa, for that. Council, any comments or questions? Councillor Martin, go ahead.
On the body cameras and car cameras, those were used, were they not? Did they not come from High River?
I'm pretty sure that's what Matt told me, but I don't want to.
Good point, Hazel.
Yeah, I don't want to confirm that.
We've extended the life as far as.
Yes, so they have, they don't owe us anything. I think I probably say like
That's what I'm saying.
That's a TCA. job, it's
life cycle
TCA.
is done.
Yeah, okay.
Well said. That's hilarious, yeah. Mayor Kelly, you have a comment or a question? Or even a motion?
No, you know what? Yeah. So here's the thing, like, yeah, I'm just gonna give you guys the motion on the first one that council direct administration to proceed with a request for quotation for the roofing project at the Flare and Derrick. This is fairly procedural and I just wanted to put it on the floor and then council can discuss as they wish, but at least it's there. Thank you.
Thank you. So council, we do have a motion on the floor. Thanks for your direct direction there, Mayor Kelly. Council, any thoughts, any question, concern on this motion? All right. Don't hear anything from Councillor Holiday. Don't see your hand raising up.
Sorry, Chair, if we're just talking to make this clear, we could recommend an amendment that request for quotation and awarding.
Oh, we need to award it.
So that way, if council chooses that tonight, so I'm just thinking about compressed timeframe, we're gonna get those folks in there for June.
Yeah, it's being used, so that's kind of our responsibility to do that. Mayor Kelly, are you open to that friendly amendment to include to proceed with the request and awarding of the roofing project? Request for quoting and
I've never had a friendly amendment from a CAO, so I am more than happy to take that tonight with that on my side. So yes, more than agreeable. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so we have that motion amended to include the awarding of the roofing project. So let's call that all in favor. All right, that's carried unanimously. So we don't need to worry about number 2 here. Councillor Bain.
The council direct administration to proceed with the purchase of the body and car cameras for municipal enforcement, with the money coming from reserves in an amount not to exceed $65,000, and the additional software operating costs to be a variance in the operating budget of approximately $5,500 for 2026. And I have nothing further.
Excellent. Any other questions, council? All right, we've got that motion on the floor. Let's call it to vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. I did have a question regarding the potential funding mechanism for the roof replacement. That wasn't part of our motion. Should we make that part of the motion? That's, I'll ask the CAO.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Great catch. Yeah.
Yeah, we will need to, the motion will clearly need to state where the funding is coming from. It is a capital project. And if you're wanting to award it, could we add, it will be coming from reserves.
Okay, so we'll just make motion to that extent. So Councillor Fleming, give us that motion that the funding mechanism for the roof replacement on the flare come from our capital reserves.
You just
like that. Sorry, I was just thinking it in my head. Word it your way. That's a bit wordy.
Yeah, I give the motion to go ahead with pulling the money out for the fire and Derek out of the reserves.
Perfect. Love the motion. All right.
It's that easy. We don't have to make it so fancy.
I know. I know. I like the fancy. That's actually, Lisa might want some clarity on that.
I might
want to do that, yeah.
No, I don't, but I'm gonna have to bring it back,
Okay.
council, because
We have to amend it.
it will have to be amended. There has to be, council has to authorize an amount up to come out of reserves. But, so I can bring that back.
Okay.
Yes, I know where you're going. So I will come back with that motion.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. But this one though, will still authorize it because
Okay.
the reason why this is complicated is because we have a time crunch. We want to get this
Yes.
done before,
Spring rain.
yeah, before they go into building, right? So council authorized this expenditures from reserves. And then we come back to actually officially do it after the fact.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we've got a great motion here about the funding mechanism. Do you have a comment there, Colin?
Yeah, the comment I would make is we canceled the first council meeting of April, so this would delay that motion for another potential 2 weeks.
Well, we have it. That's our next motion.
April 18th.
No, so, yeah, clarify, Chair. So you guys approve this tonight. We go out and tender and do the work. Once the work is done, we come back to tell you precisely how much it was that council gives X dollars came out of reserves.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So simple enough motion. Thank you, Councillor Fleming, for that. All in favor? Excellent. I did want to, actually, Councillor Martin asked me a question earlier this week regarding the potential of having insurance cover that. But that's a wear and tear issue. That's a maintenance issue. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's something that I used to get all the time when I was selling insurance was, can the insurance cover this? It's a leaky roof. Not likely. It's got to be sudden and accidental from an insured peril.
No,
And
somebody
and-
was like climbing up there.
Good,
John.
good luck doing that. Well, vandalism would have to be proven. So, and that is an insured peril too, by the way. But anyway, that's for another,
Story.
that's for another conversation. Last but not least, teamwork. We're doing well here for such an in-depth opportunity. Our last item on board is, what are we going to do with our April council meeting? We have several councillors who will be enjoying April Easter break, I guess is what you call it. It's spring break, Easter break, and we know that they're going to be away. So, council, what do we want to do? Administration's already advising us that they're going to be working towards the April 15th meeting as opposed to the April 1st because of this. So if I can, speak on behalf of the mayor, my recommendation is because so many councillors will be away, and this is a season of rest, I would recommend that we move forward with canceling that meeting. That's my recommendation. but I will let Mayor Kelly speak for himself.
Yeah, and I appreciate the intro here, Deputy Mayor Gordon, and CAO Davey and I have been working diligently within the last month to 6 weeks to make sure that our agendas are prepared in a manner that allows for this sort of break. This is not an accident or by surprise. We as a council, and again, this is for the public's information as much as it is for our own. We work diligently to make sure that our agendas are efficient, and we have evaded, so to speak, as many committee of the whole meetings or special meetings as possible to save the expense on per diems and tax dollars. And CEO Davey and I have discussed this enough that we are going into a 3.5-hour meeting, so to speak, and we're not done quite yet. So that we can make sure that we can postpone / cancel. It's not, I guess it's not a postpone. We can cancel the next meeting, but still get everything done in the manner that the town and administration needs us to. So I fully support this cancellation. It gives administration an opportunity of a full 4 weeks, both planning, public works, everybody gives them an opportunity to get some things maybe that they had on the back burner accomplished. And that's where I stand on this. So I'm in full support of it.
That sounds like a motion. Why
I
don't you
just
make
have
it?
one question, sorry. just
Go
one
ahead.
question.
We'll,
How-
we'll have Ashley ask a question, then we'll take a motion,
I know
Mayor.
some of us are actually leaving the country, so how many people are back for the 15th meeting?
So who's away on the 15th?
I
So Cindy's away on the 15th. Ashley's away
No,
on the
I'm not.
15th.
I'm here on
Okay,
the
Cindy's
15th.
not away. You're here on the 15th. Ashley's away on the 15th and Colin's away on the 15th. So we're gonna have, I
We-
guess it's a lesser.
we still have
of
quorum.
evils, right? We still have quorum with 5.
We have
So-
quorum.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we'll be good. CEO, why don't you give us your 2 cents?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And if need be, might be the dial-in option. We kind of planned it, so tonight was a fairly big session. April 15th is going to be, there's some pretty big topics on there. I mentioned my weekly email today. We might not get the audit done for publication cutoff. So what that means is, as a plan B right now, we might actually have to do a special meeting on the 29th. I would say it's a 50-50 chance right now. So just some context too. So it's not like we're just getting rid of one meeting, we're actually loading up potentially 2 others.
So just to clarify, April 29th, potential, let's pencil it in, council.
Yeah.
That could be a special meeting. Perfect. Mayor Kelly, you want to give us that motion then?
Yeah, of course. I'd be more than happy that council direct administration to cancel the first meeting in April. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the 15th. Thank you.
Right on. Yeah, and the addition to that obviously is to make sure we have that public announcement made as part of the administrative responsibilities. All right, simple, a motion on the table, council, all in favor? Perfect. That is passed unanimously.
Aye.
And we are going to recess for just enough time to be able to turn off our, as we go into a closed session. So I'll take a motion to go into closed.
I'll give you that.
Councillor Martin, does this have to be unanimous as well? It does.
Not to go into
Oh, it's not into close. So at 20:34, let me start here. 8:34, we are going into a close, moved by Councillor Martin, all in favor. And that is carried. And we are going to go into close